We get questions all the time on what frame should I buy from your store, and I respond to every single person individually, and that's great and all, and you're still welcome to email shrikeframe@gmail.com and ask us those questions. But
even ask, like, what's your favorite toilet paper?
Actually, I do have a favorite toilet paper brand.
But at the same time as being self-indulgent and typing our own stuff,
yeah, I mean,
this is also applicable to other frames.
Yeah.
Like, you see these types of frames.
Yeah, so we kind of have covered 3 major frame genres with our 3 frames here, right?
Yeah, in a way.
There's the tall stack, small quad. There's the short stack, slightly bigger quad, and there's the long body battery on top.
Right.
So this should hopefully help if you're looking to buy a frame, you know, and maybe you've only had one type of frame ever. What other frame do you want to try out, and why should you try them out, and what are the benefits and negatives of each type of frame? So it's not necessarily just for Show Me What You Got frames. This kind of applies to all frame types.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna buy a frame, you should go to showmewhatyougot.co and buy one of these because they're better than everyone else's out there.
For what it's worth, discount code will be below in the description. So this is the first Shrike, maybe like second iteration, a few small tweaks and changes. But yeah, it was the first like micro X FPV pod system.
So this is where Zach took that idea and
tailored it to the tiny X
as much as possible.
Yeah, so it's a 185, fits 5-inch props. If you swap out to aluminum hardware, I think it's only like 55 grams. Mm-hmm. It's very light, very simple. Got a clean PDB with 5 and 12 volt on board. Very easy to build. I like, not to sound like a complete, narcissist, but I feel like the Shrikes are some of the easiest to build. Well, because I designed the PDB to go with the electronics I had. And I designed it in such a way it's just like tack, 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 and you get all your ESCs and stuff on.
The hardest thing to fit on here, I think, is the receiver and the VTX. You kind of got to sandwich them and stick them behind the camera vertically. And depending on which VTX or receiver you're using,
it doesn't quite fit the same.
You kind of got to tweak around, but yeah, you just sandwich them together, throw them on the back.
It ends up working really well. It's compact. But yeah, remember that. It's very compact.
Yeah, it's really compact.
Because you got to fit your camera and all your electronics in that little pod.
Battery on the bottom, tall stack. So if you're gonna fly this quad, you probably aren't gonna be flying an HD camera, because once you throw an HD camera on top of it, the stack gets really tall, and it's kind of like this.
It does fly. I mean, that's what we used to fly forever.
We used to fly it all the time.
But like, if I go back and watch my videos, it is a bit wobbly. Not just because it's up there, but it's also very small wheel factor. So when you throw that extra weight up there, it doesn't have that same leverage to stay as stable.
Like all our frames, it has a 12 volt, 5 volt for whatever you need to use it for. So the next step up from that guy is
the V2s.
So the V2. We made that one evening because Maddie Stunts was doing backwards flying.
And we need more camera tilt.
Yeah, and Zach and I were like, shit, that's really cool stuff. We want to do it too.
Yeah.
So it pretty much just was like, how do we get more camera tilt out of the quad? And
so
this is kind of
because this guy was limited to roughly 45, which is like perfect for all of our racing.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to go with a little more aggressive tilt, and then we also decided, let's make it a little bigger so we could go to 6-inch if we ever needed. So now we actually have 2 flavors. This is the 200, and we also have a 220. Mm-hmm. So it's a 5 and a 6-inch variant. And what we did was essentially almost nothing. We moved the camera out of that center stack. So from here, we moved it forward in front of the stack, and that just allowed us to be able to put the camera to much more extreme angles, and it actually made building a little easier. We made little TPU trays, and you can mount all of your electronics right inside.
Yeah. Because the camera's way forward, so you actually now have all this space right here to put all your junk.
So that made building this one relatively easy. Some transmitters, like the Tramp, are really thick, so it makes it a little tricky. But other than that, we beefed up the arms a little bit, made it a little tougher. Just something we wanted to, not have to work on as often. Even though I think I've only ever broken one arm on the small guy because he's so light.
And it's so short.
Yeah.
You know? I think that was another reason why these arms never broke, was because they were so short. But
that and we were running, lighter, a little less powerful motors and stuff at the time. So then we upgraded this guy. This is what we currently race right now, the 220 variant. With this, though, actually came an upgrade for both of these guys. We started milling slots. It's right. We'll post a picture maybe. But we milled a slot in the arms, and you can actually just feed battery straps through now, which was a nice improvement. So whenever you snap one, it's 10-second replacement.
Another talking point about this is you actually have two options for the antenna, the VTX antenna. So when we used to fly like this, this piece right here would break all the time.
And I've beefed it up, tried to
because it's
a lever.
It's this lever, and you have this long antenna on it, and it's you grab a wrench, you grab a longer wrench once a bolt is stuck, right? So that's all it is you're just wrenching.
Well, not even that. I had someone like, hey, can you cut me a 4 mil? So someone out there has a 4 mil top plate because he was sick of breaking them.
So with this, we now have these little zip tie holes, and you actually can just have your antenna coming out the back like this, and you bend it up. And if you do that, you're not really gonna break stuff anymore, right?
So real solid.
You have the option of, maybe a cleaner mount, but risky, or actually, I personally like having the antenna come out the back.
Yeah. If you're a weight queen, good setup. We ship with steel hardware on everything. It's a little more durable, a little less complaining that we have to deal with. Not that everyone's a complainer. But aluminum hardware, you do have to have the right tools, otherwise you just strip it. So.
Well, and you shear aluminum stuff. Like,
yeah.
I remember when I was flying this, I would shear these bolts, clean off all the time.
So we decided to ship with steel just because it's a little easier. It's a bit heavier, but if you're really looking for that performance and that weight savings, you can go with this guy and swap out all the hardware to aluminum.
And so...
Or titanium if you got big wallet.
Lastly, we got the Shrike Style.
Yeah.
And that came out of you two, right?
Yeah, so Travis was out here visiting before he moved in, and I was like talking to him about his pup. I was like, I've wanted to sort of buy an alien, but I don't like alien, like just sort of this nonsense talk. And I was like, I want a battery on top quad, and Travis was like, dude, you make your own frames. You have a CNC in your garage. So I was like, all right, help me do it. So we sat down and we cranked it out in, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. And we made our first prototypes the next day, and we came up with this. So it's built on all of the same great components. It's the same PDB, same bolt pattern. So if you're familiar with their other frames, it's super easy to build. It builds the same way. The main differences is really the top and the bottom plates have been extended, and the arms are the same 220 size, but we beefed them up a little bit for the extra weight and the extra stress that the standoffs on that outer pattern produces. But it moves your camera forward, gives you some room in the tail, and gets you being able to top mount the battery and still have room for a GoPro up front. And the main reason I wanted to try this is everyone's video I was watching who flew like an alien or a similar style frame with the battery on top, it seemed just more planted and more stable. And we quickly found out that it does actually fly a fair bit better to have your weight all centralized in one area.
But why don't we race that way?
We don't really race it because it does have a lot bigger profile to the air.
And also, for me at least, it's, with this, if it's a long track, I can grab an 1800 strapped to the bottom.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect anything, right?
Or I can still
grab
balance it and everything.
This prop or that prop or 6-inch props because we fly the bigger. We have this variable, and when you're racing at different tracks, every single track is different, and we can swap out the battery, we can swap out the props. It's super easy to have all that working.
Yeah, when the battery's on the bottom, there's nothing to bump. You can move forward and back. Yeah, we could put a 5000 on it and still fly.
Or we could put an 850 on it, right? And this, you have to
limited,
balance it.
Yeah,
you always want to fly like 13 to 1600. It's, it's designed to be balanced, carrying a GoPro all the time. You can race it. We've raced it. We have some pretty fast UTT times with that, carrying a GoPro, but the reason we like the bottom mounted battery, at least for me, is just you have this variable. It's like at least for bicycle track racing, it's you change out the gearing
Right.
and cogs depending on the track and your competition. It's the same thing here. You need to be able to switch things up on the fly if you need to. This is more like I'm going to go cruise in the mountains or park and fly around. Right?
So, I mean, the setup I'm running, I have 2 of these and 3 of these for racing. But yeah, I mean, what it came down to is this was our dedicated filming rig, so we gave it properties for better filming, a little more stable, a little smoother, not necessarily more docile, but just designed to balance that GoPro weight with the battery better. And then these guys are just designed sort of as that the least possible. What is the frame?
Yeah,
Here are the parts, and we put it together that way. And it's sort of nice to have that distinction as well. Even if like the performance isn't massive, it's really nice to be like, all right, that one goes there and that one goes there. You don't have to deal with it. But other than that, they're all designed with the same principles. The whole idea of keep it simple, stupid, get rid of nonsense, and have just the basic parts you need.
Yeah, so once again, this applies for the most part to other quads. If you want to do racing, bottom-mounted battery is beneficial because of that flexibility. If you're doing more freestyle GoPro stuff, top-mounted battery just seems more smooth.
Yeah.
So it's, if you're shopping for a frame, take those into consideration.
That and the maximum tilt on this guy with the 3D mounts we have on our site is only about 30 degrees. So we knew that coming in. We can probably get more tilt out of it if we need, but it was originally intended to be a filming platform.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any more questions, comments, if you have anything you want us to talk about, hit us up in the comments below. Always remember to subscribe, and thanks for watching.